A veteran running back with over 4,700 scrimmage yards and experience as a pass-catching specialist is being connected to the Raiders, and the case for signing him before training camp is more compelling than people are giving it credit for. Jackson Powers-Johnson is the frontrunner for right guard, but what he needs to change about his approach is the difference between starting and watching from the sideline. The quarterback room is about to get one man shorter, and the decision about what to do with Aidan O'Connell is more interesting than the headlines suggest. And a fifth-round cornerback is making a legitimate case to start in this defense, and the coaches are paying attention. Stay here with me, Raider Nation. Let's get into the news. The most important position battle on this offensive line right now belongs to a player named Jackson Powers-Johnson, and the honest truth is that he is his own biggest obstacle to winning it. JPJ enters training camp as the frontrunner for the right guard starting spot alongside Tyler Linderbaum, which is exactly where this coaching staff needs him to be. He has the physical profile for it. At 6'3" and 325 pounds with lateral agility and football intelligence, he brings the kind of brute force presence that complements what Linderbaum does at center. He is not a pure zone-blocking guard. His frame is built more for power and gap schemes, but he showed at Oregon that he can execute zone concepts, and that versatility matters in a system that mixes both. The problem is not the talent. The problem is the behavior. Reports from inside this organization have described Powers-Johnson as undisciplined and hot-headed. And those are not words that fit the culture Klint Kubiak is deliberately building in Las Vegas. This is a head coach who made players earn the right to wear the Raiders logo on their helmets. A coach who created the most urgent OTAs in Kirk Cousins' 15-year career. A coach who has zero tolerance for entitlement or individual behavior that disrupts the collective standard. Being hot-headed and undisciplined is the antithesis of everything this program is built around, and JPJ needs to understand that clearly before training camp opens. Now here is what makes this situation worth watching closely. Powers-Johnson only played 8 of 17 games last season after suffering a severe ankle injury in Week 10. In the 5 games where he played 100% of the offensive snaps at right guard, he showed what he can be when healthy and locked in. That player is good enough to start on this offensive line. The question is whether he can channel the competitive energy into productive aggression against opposing defenders instead of letting it manifest as the kind of undisciplined behavior that gets you benched or passed over for someone with less talent and more composure. Rick Dennison has over 30 years of experience coaching offensive linemen and coordinating run games. He knows what he needs from this position, and he is going to find out very quickly in training camp whether JPJ can deliver it within the framework of what Kubiak is building. The talent is there. The opportunity is there. The only thing standing between Jackson Powers-Johnson and a starting spot on this offensive line is Jackson Powers-Johnson himself. The quarterback room is about to get one man shorter, and the player leaving is Jacob Clark, according to The Athletic's Sam Warren, who put together a 53-man roster prediction and has the undrafted rookie as the odd man out when cutdown day arrives. And honestly, that is not a surprise to anyone who has been paying attention. Clark came in as an undrafted free agent signing in April and has been facing a depth chart that gives him almost no realistic path to the active roster. Fernando Mendoza is the franchise quarterback and is not going anywhere. Kirk Cousins has a fully guaranteed contract for this season. Aidan O'Connell played well in OTAs and gives this coaching staff something real to consider. Clark is a developmental prospect whose ceiling at this point is a practice squad spot, and even that is going to require him to outperform what he has shown so far. But here is where this story gets genuinely interesting, and I think it is being overlooked in favor of the more obvious quarterback conversation. The real decision in this room is not whether Clark gets cut. It is what the Raiders do with O'Connell. Warren addressed this directly, and the logic he laid out is worth examining carefully. He said the door is open for the Raiders to trade O'Connell before cutdown day, and that the timing makes sense if they can secure assets for him. O'Connell has started 17 games and shown enough potential that a team looking for a backup with starting experience might be willing to give up a late-round pick. That is real value for a player the Raiders are going to lose in free agency next offseason anyway. But Warren also said he would not be surprised if the Raiders kept O'Connell as insurance, because if Cousins struggles or gets injured, the last thing this organization wants is to be forced to play Mendoza before the roster around him is ready to support him properly. And that is the honest tension at the center of this decision. Trading O'Connell gets you an asset and clears a roster spot. Keeping O'Connell protects Mendoza's development from being disrupted by circumstances outside anyone's control. My position on this is clear. Keep O'Connell. The asset you get for him in a trade is not worth more than the insurance he provides for the most important player on this roster. Mendoza's development is the #1 priority of this entire organization right now. Do not trade the safety net for a 5th-round pick. The running back room has one real weakness, and the name that fixes it is Antonio Gibson, a 7-year veteran with 4,782 career scrimmage yards and 31 touchdowns, who Bleacher Report's Mo Moton named as a fit for Las Vegas because of what he brings as a pass-catching specialist out of the backfield. And the argument makes complete sense when you look at what this room actually needs. Ashton Jeanty is the centerpiece, and nobody is debating that. 4th-round pick Mike Washington Jr. has the physical tools to be a real contributor in year 1. But here is the honest problem with this running back room right now. There is not a single player on this roster with more than 2 years of NFL experience at the position. Not one. In a run-heavy system under Klint Kubiak, where the ground game is going to be relied upon heavily, especially early in the season, while the passing game finds its identity with Kirk Cousins and eventually Fernando Mendoza, having 0 veteran experience in that room is a real vulnerability that does not need to exist. Gibson fills that gap in the most specific way possible. He started his NFL career as a wide receiver at Memphis before transitioning to running back, which means his ability to line up in the slot, run routes, and create mismatches in the passing game is not just a secondary skill. It is part of his football DNA. He has 197 career receptions, which tells you he has been trusted by multiple coaching staffs to be a reliable target in critical passing situations. And his production as a 3rd-down back is exactly what Kubiak's offense needs to complement what Jeanty does as the primary ball carrier and what Washington brings as the change of pace option. Now I want to be honest about where Gibson is in his career, because it matters. He is not the 1,037-yard rusher he was with Washington in 2021 anymore. He finished 2025 with 112 scrimmage yards and 2 fumbles, which tells you his role needs to be carefully defined. He is not a starter. He is not a feature back. He is the veteran presence in a room full of young players who can serve as the 3rd-down specialist, the mentor, and the insurance policy that every good running back room needs over a 17-game season. The Raiders have cap space. Gibson costs almost nothing, and the running back room becomes meaningfully better the moment he walks through that door. This call should have already been made. Nobody expected a 5th-round pick to be this relevant this early, and his name is Hezekiah Masses, the cornerback out of Cal, who is mounting a legitimate challenge for a starting spot in this defense and forcing the coaching staff to take notice in a way that nobody predicted when he was selected in round 5 of the 2026 draft. Pro Football Talk's Michael David Smith reported that Masses is making a strong early impression, and when you look at what he is doing and why it fits what Rob Leonard is building, the excitement starts to make complete sense. Masses played 3 seasons of college football across multiple programs before landing at Cal last year, where he earned first-team ACC honors. He is aggressive at the line of scrimmage, which is exactly the trait Leonard has said he covets from every defender in this scheme. Leonard wants an attacking defense that does not hesitate, that plays fast, and that makes decisions before the offense can adjust. Masses plays that way naturally. He is not a corner who sits back and waits for the play to come to him. He attacks routes, challenges receivers at the line, and plays with the kind of physical urgency that makes offensive coordinators uncomfortable. Now let me give you the honest picture of where this competition actually stands. Eric Stokes is the only locked-in starter at cornerback, and that is not changing. Darian Porter was drafted in the 3rd round last year, started 10 games, and has the inside track to the 2nd starting spot based on draft pedigree and experience. But Porter struggled with assignments during his rookie season, often getting lost in coverage, which is exactly why the coaches are not simply handing him the job and moving on. Jermode McCoy has 1st-round talent, but is being carefully managed because of the degenerative knee issue that caused more than half the league to take him off their draft boards entirely. And Masses is right in the middle of all of it, earning first-team reps during minicamp against the Raiders' top receivers alongside Stokes, which is not something that happens for 5th-round picks unless the coaching staff is genuinely seeing something worth developing. Here is my take on what this means for this defense. If Masses wins a starting spot as a 5th-round rookie, Rob Leonard gets credit for building exactly the kind of competitive environment where talent rises regardless of draft position. That is not just good for masses. That is good for every young player in that building who is watching this competition unfold and understanding that the standard here is performance, not pedigree. Training camp is where this gets decided, and masses has already given Raider Nation a reason to pay attention. Well, Raider Nation, here is what today actually told us about where this roster stands. Jackson Powers-Johnson has the talent to start on this offensive line, but the only thing standing between him and that spot is his own discipline. And training camp is where we find out if he figured that out. Jacob Clark is going home, and the real decision is what to do with O'Connell. And my position is clear. Keep him and protect Mendoza's development from being disrupted by something nobody can control. Antonio Gibson is available for almost nothing, and this running back room needs a veteran pass-catching specialist who can mentor Jeanty and Washington while contributing on third downs from day one. And Hezekiah Masses is proving that this coaching staff means what they say about competition being real, because a fifth-round pick is forcing his way into the starting cornerback conversation based entirely on how he plays. Every one of these stories points to the same thing. This is a roster being built on merit, not pedigree, not draft position, not sentiment. The players who show up in training camp and outperform their competition are going to play. And that standard is exactly what Raider Nation has been waiting for this franchise to set. Drop your take in the comments. This space belongs to everyone who lives by just win, baby, and never walked away from the silver and black.